Hello everyone. Good morning. Hope you are doing well. So in the last video, we talked about all the sectors that are currently available in Indian market. So as a first sector, we'll talk about the financial sector in the India, and we talk about market overview. What are the few investment opportunities? And we will talk in brief about the growth aspect, the key players, and also the future trends. So coming to the introduction to the financial sector, so the space, basically, if we talk about any sector, one of the key sector of the backbone for India is the financial sector. So it facilitates basically the capital flow and economic stability and all these things. And the second point is economic growth. For any industry or to mature or to further grow, it requires capital. So for that reason, the financial sector plays a crucial role in providing the capital in to help drive the economic growth. And as well, this sector enables individuals, like, let us say you are planning to invest something, you are planning to buy a house, you are planning to buy a commercial property. At the personal level also, it will help to drive create wealth for persons and for organizations. And as we see as a whole picture, if you see a development of a person in terms of his ability, purchasing power, and all these things, and as an organization, if it is catering more growth, expand to new businesses, new markets, as an overall impact, it will also impact the GDP of the country, and as well as employability, because as companies start investing more and more money into their projects, it will also help to generate more revenues and as well as employment to the country. So coming to the overview, as I mentioned, the market capitalization of the financial sector is around 97 lakh 54,000 crore. So imagine we are 4 billion, 4 trillion or 5 trillion. So almost 1 trillion of market capitalization it is commands. And if you see the overall index representation in the Nifty 50 and Sensex, corresponds to almost 30%. Yes, if you assume that we are 3 trillion and then 30% corresponds to 1 crore, 1 trillion basically. And then there are three regulators. So every business should be uh, will be driven and by a policy, and then these policies are implemented by, they will be developed by a few organizations. The one of them are SEBI, the second one is RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, IRDAI, once again it is a Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. So these are the three major players, major regulators, I would say, not players, to decide the financial sector objectives and key performance indicators. This In this slide, we talk about the subsectors of the financial market. So essentially, the 1 trillion is further divided into these five spaces. One is banking sector. It could be personal, public, private, cooperative banking. There are other banks as well, but mostly public, which is SBI, private ICICI or HDFC, cooperative banks. Maharashtra cooperative bank. There are many cooperative banks, and there is NBFCs, non-banking finance corporation. These are essentially, like, if you don't like LIC Housing Finance or some other housing finance companies, those are essentially those are called non-banking finance. They don't do a transaction, like, they have deposit or something like that. They will take some money out of the banks or RBI or issue bonds, and then they use that capital to fund some housing projects or commercial projects. So they will not be involved in day-to-day banking operations like ICICI or HDFC. The next major subsector is insurance. In insurance, we have life insurance, general insurance, and health insurance. And these days, there are more and more products, insurance products, that are being fed to the people, and it's very important to have an insurance for every person, because it creates some buffer. It will be act as a cushion for your life and as your life partners or your family. The next one is capital markets. So one of the key areas in the capital market is stock market, mutual funds, and bonds. There are many more, so we'll talk about in further slides. Okay. And the last one is fintech. This is recently evolving, which is, we were the pioneers. Like, essentially, India is one of the pioneer in the fintech industry sector. Essentially, the digital payments, all the UPI, online lending, AMS, there are a lot of other things, wealth tech, all the angel investing, everything comes under fintech. So let us talk about the banking industry overview. So if we consider the subsector as banking as one, it itself commands almost more than 50%, more than 55% of the market capitalization in the entire finance sector. Okay, so it's almost 65 lakh crores. And key players, as I mentioned earlier, one is HDFC, ICICI, SBI, Kotak Mahindra Bank. So these are the major players in this banking industry. If we talk about the growth factors that will multiply this banking industry growth, is digitalization, financial inclusion. So financial inclusion is nothing but Jan accounts that was championed by our esteemed Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, on the initiatives, and also NPA election. Basically, a lot of companies that were formed, and they were into, they did not make any business and they took a lot of loans. So all these NPA, non-performing assets, essentially. So they took loans and then they are not performing, and banks wait for some time to categorize them as non-performing assets because they give some loans, and then these banks don't return the interest or capital. So they consider them as non-performing assets. So these are essentially the growth factors. You reduce your non-performing asset, and then you start getting more and more margins. The next one is NBFCs. So NBFCs command a market capitalization around 15 lakh crores. It's compared to the banking sector, this is almost one third of it. But yes, there are industry leaders in this. Bajaj Finance, every now and then we used to get a lot of calls from Bajaj Finance for loans, Muthoot Finance, and Sriram Transport Finance dominate the NBFC space. So this is about the players. So coming to the sector role, NBFCs play a very crucial role, basically in the microfinancing and house financing, because it's a very niche area, and then the market is very fragmented. You have a lot of companies to play in, but essentially, but they're very important to have these NBFCs as a part of the financial sector. So if we talk about the growth rates, like what is the opportunity for them to grow? So basically, we have rising credit demand. Like more and more people are opting for having their own houses, and then earlier, when if you want to get a loan, there is a lot of issues like for the banking documents, a lot of documentation. Nowadays, it's all digital, right? So and the size of the loans. Earlier, there was some chunk, some major chunk used to. Now even people are going for small loans, even 5 lakh, 1 lakh, 50,000, 40,000. So the digital platforms are enabling to drive that growth. And one of the major reason to have NBFCs is actually they are actually creating some inclusive banking for the underserved market. Because SBI gives a home loan for a salaried employee, but NBFCs come in this picture, and then let us say the person doesn't have his created documents, or he is just an agriculture worker, or he is some landowner who is not a salaried employee. So in those cases, NBFCs do help to fill that gap. The next one is insurance industry. There are huge things. The market value for the insurance industry is 10 lakh crores. And then if you see the key players like LIC recently being listed, and HDFC Life, ICICI Lombard, and SBI Life. Coming to the digital transformation, like earlier when we started taking insurance policy from LIC, everything is manual. Like you have to visit the branch, or the agent, LIC agent will come to your house. You'll make sign a lot of documents. Nowadays, just open Policy Bazaar, check all the any app to compare the policies, and just log into their website and register for policy. Do the payment, policy is done. Imagine the digital transformation. It's like huge. Okay. And even now there is a huge runway for the insurance industry. The reason I'm saying, India roughly around very less, even less than 10%, I would say, are insured. So we have a huge runway to grow. And that's what in the growth potential they are targeting about expanding market penetration. So most of the cities might be covered, but even if you go for a tier 2 city, tier 3 city, towns, villages, you have so much runway. And I see insurance industry as a significant potential to grow further. The next one is capital markets. Capital markets these days, stock markets. People are investing. There is a lot of participation from the retail participants, and then both the BSE and NSE are the backbone for equity markets. If you see, a lot of mutual funds are coming up with new themes, and SIPs, systematic investment plans. So there is a growing popularity. I would say people are finding alternative investment opportunities post retirement, or for any specific reason, like could be a marriage, or could be for kids education, or a holiday. So people are utilizing all these investment opportunities. And market influencers. I mean, when I say market influencers, it is about foreign investment, foreign institutional investors as well as domestic institutional investors. These are the crucial roles in determining the stock market trends and liquidity. And the retail participation has also included. If you see the overall foreign institutional investors who hold the total, market, almost around 25 before COVID. I think they have very good. Even after COVID, they have good stake in the Indian companies. I think 25 to 30% in some companies. And if you see the DIS, like DIS are like essentially mutual funds. They will own the stock. Multiple mutual funds can own the stock, and so this is essentially the marketing players, major players, in the capital markets. Retail participation is there, but it is growing and it is still evolving. The last one is about fintech revolution. This is where India has grown leaps and bounds compared to any other country in the developed economies as well. So digital payments, UPI transactions, there are many players in this space. Like you started Phone Pay, Paytm, Google Pay. A lot of companies are there, and they have a combined market capitalization of around 7,50,000 crores, and this is going to be more and more. But one thing I would say, this is an interface between the banking and the people. So I would say just be cautious while trying to invest in this fintech revolution. Try a niche product, not so UPI everyone does. Essentially, these players will make some money on the transaction fees. They are not doing any banking, or either not doing anything in the business. So they are the interface. So just be cautious. But overall, this is one which took us to the next level of financial inclusion. Like in old days, like whenever you go to one shop, you have to pay 7 rupees, and then you go 10 rupees note. They give you a couple of chocolate, two chocolates or one chocolate. Now with the UPI, that was that 1 rupee chocolate got. If you see the corresponding growth of the candies for 1 rupee in demand, they have dropped significantly when you took the fintech revolution. This is one key growth, a key trend that was observed during this time. So I think we have discussed all the sector subsectors in the within the financial sector. Hope you liked my video. So the last slide, which I'm talking about, investment opportunities. So if you see banking sector, it is growing around 11%, NBFC is around 12%, insurance around 10%, fintech, see fintech is going around 15%. Now overall financial sector, if you see around 11, 10 to 12%. So this is overall investment opportunities and future outlook for the fin sector. Hope you all liked my content, and please do subscribe this video. Thank you.